think it's BAC, right? Bombay Stock Exchange in charge. Because I think one point of time I dealt with Lakshman Gogolatu, who was in charge of small industries, SME industries. Okay. So BSA is a big. All of us invest money in stock exchange and stock market and lose nicely nowadays. So, but that's a part of life. And we also he's going to talk on how AI will change the different processes in finance. Because finance processes are very rudimentary. I can tell you that. I mean, it started from general tables, 1 to 20 tables, and then calculators and all those things. Companies spend a lot of money in finance, but the processes remain very rudimentary. And I remember one thing in my company, chief of finance, finance vice president. I said, you are for 25 rupees you are asking me to fill a voucher. The money what we are spending, write a voucher, then my boss will sign, then we go to finance department, then after some time I will get money paid. This is stupidity in finance. I mean, nobody will do such a waste of time, managerial time. So likewise, in finance there are a lot of many loopholes in the as I see from the corporate finance side, especially when the annual closure comes. No, C plus 5, C plus 1, all that thing happened. I know. Yes. And in our company, Pallavi, if finance people will come late and go late. This is a typical, everywhere you see, all finance people. Nothing wrong against finance. My son himself is in finance. So, and then at 6 o'clock when we are going, when the batata vada and cold drinks go up, that means they are going to take time today. So it is like that. We knew what finance people did, but they are most important for every company. And managing director will believe finance much more than research can manager. So or production manager, because production executive will tell him already manager may not be knowing, but executive will be telling him what was the output today. So finance is important in our life. Finance is important. Without money, nothing can happen. Although money doesn't grow on trees, but money does go in market. And today he is going to tell us how efficient processes can be done using artificial intelligence. And my first question to him: what is non-generative AI? You can start with that and then start the lecture. So welcome to Thane Management Forum. We have these lovely members and many more will join. And they are all qualified executives of different companies. Dr. Samare, CA first class was with us. His daughter also doing it now CA. My son is certified of the accountant and chartered accountant. So we know from close distance how finance people work. But I think you will have the best idea. And please tell us so that we don't make the same mistakes and what better things can happen in finance. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Dr. Ketan, and thank you, Pallavi, for giving me the opportunity. For all of you all for taking time out on a weekend to come to this session. Yeah, to begin with what Dr. Ketan said. So AI as a domain has been around for many years, I think at least 50 years. But a lot of what was happening on AI was happening in the research domain, and it was happening behind the scenes, and not much was accessible to the layperson, people like us who are not from a very high-end technology background. For us to access and use has been possible only in the last few years, and that is where this generative AI has made it accessible. So essentially, AI is about using machines, software and technology to do a lot of decision making, which is typically done by human beings only. And what has been happening is that till recently, most of the AI is what can be broadly called predictive AI. So it is artificial intelligence which looks at large amounts of data and predicts what could be the thing. For example, it analyzes large amount of transactions and it can predict that what are the kind of frauds that can happen, where people could make some illegal transactions, etc. Or as a user of any platform. For example, last 2 years, OTT platforms have become very widely used. And when you start using
Yeah,
the
the
platform,
recent news going on
yes,
the
yes.
platform, yeah.
Correct. So as a user, if you start watching, if you watch thriller movies or if you watch drama movies or if you watch melodramatic movies or whatever, it will identify that this is what you likely are, and it will start throwing up suggestions based on what you watch, so that it can get you more and more engaged in that platform. So this is a predictive AI, but this AI is used by the people who design and run the platform, and as a user you have no control over it, or you are not able to use it as such. So you don't even realize that AI is there, it just keeps on creating that output and showing. What has happened with generative AI is that generative AI for the first time is creating something new. So it is based on large amount of data which is there. Like when ChatGPT was launched publicly 2 years ago, it had analyzed and collated all the data which is available on internet till a cutoff date, and then was able to look at patterns of language, and then based on what you are asking, it is able to generate new output. So that is the biggest change that generative AI brought about. And whatever we were seeing in science fiction films, where the AI is actually doing something like a human being and all, now to a small extent that is possible. For example, AI, if you ask it, if you give some input, it can write a story for you, or it can create an image for you, it can create a movie for you. Many things, creation, which is something which no machine was able to do as such. It was like, even if you look at factories or anything, every piece of output was similar to the previous piece of output. It was just repetitive manufacturing which was happening. With generative AI, you can give inputs and then create something entirely new. Like if you describe an image, like a tiger with a horse's body and elephant feet, it can create such kind of an image, which is the biggest thing about generative AI. And because of that, what is now possible is that you can use the power of generative AI to create output which is different, which is unique. You can also use it to analyze large amounts of data and interpret it in a way which you will find it easy to understand. So that is one of the strengths of using it in finance. So I am just built it around finance because I have been with BSc Institute and sort of exposure to finance. But whatever ideas or examples that we are showing today, it is applicable anywhere else. Essentially, for example, if you are wanting to invest in a company, you want to understand how the company is faring. So you will have to look at the balance sheet, income statements, and the cash flow of the company. Also, reports published by broking firms about the company, any news articles which are there on the company. Not only that, because of lot of online platforms which are there are many forums where people who are very deeply involved in investing, like there is a value investor forum, many forums, they have deep discussions on companies. So if you pick up input from that, analyze that, then you will get input on the company which is not easily available. For example, on the value investor forum, there is a group of 100 people who are just discussing Reliance as a company, as a stock every day. So they will have looked at it and they would have so many things about that company, which if you ask AI to analyze and give you a summary, then you will get many things which are not there in their financial statements, because the financial statements are created by the company. They have an array of, like a company like Reliance will have 500 CS to help them present the data in a manner that looks attractive to you.
But dressing.
Yes, window dressing.
But the value investor forum or any other such forum would have many people who have studied the company. They will try and link the financial data with what is happening. For example, Reliance Retail, you will notice that two shops near your house are shut down. And then if you collate data all over India, you'll find that 500 shops are shut down. But financially it is showing that they are doing well. So there is some mismatch in that data. So those kind of things you can pick up from multiple sources, connect all of them, and the natural human ability to ask questions is something which you always have. And traditionally also we are a society where we used to be encouraged to ask questions and all. So now it might not be very common. But then those skills, if you apply, you can extract a lot of insights into that, and then come to decisions.
Even petrol also the same. Yeah, petrol pumps. Get an alarm or something? That is least risk, some risk and high risk. Averaging a return of that is least risk, some risk and high risk. Averaging a return of, let's say, for example, 10 to 18%. Would quantum AI, which is a combination of quantum computing and AI, have capabilities to ensure a much higher return than the conventional?
Yeah, because quantum, the way it can analyze data and all, it can give more insights on the past. But then it's very difficult to predict the future. So some companies who are using quantum investing techniques in some of their funds, they are doing well, but some of them are not doing well.
Warren Buffett's company, for example, what is it called? BlackRock. They have got financial modeling. Berkshire Hathaway. So Berkshire Hathaway. They have financial modeling, etc., which must be using technologies. I was just trying to wonder whether it can throw patterns that are more indicative of a higher return, and therefore the decisions of Berkshire Hathaway have more or less made more money than all of us put together. So what part of that technology helped Berkshire Hathaway as opposed to hundreds and thousands across the world, that they could use this kind of financial modeling technology inclusive of all that you have mentioned. So how does it work?
See, one aspect is the data. So the quantitative quant computing and all can analyze the data and give a lot of insights, can relate many things which probably using conventional methods might not be so effective. On top of that, they do what is known as sensitivity analysis. So sensitivity analysis, it will scan through all the conversations that are happening on that company. So suppose Boeing is a company. So there's a conversation happening about Boeing in the aerospace industry, in the airline companies which are buying Boeing, in the passengers who are using those things. So when you analyze that aspect of it, put it at a high speed and correlate all of them, obviously a large company
Berkshire Hathaway
would have an advantage.
Correct. And then of course you finally use that skill.
Yes, plus all these companies, since they have large holdings in these their companies which they are investors, they directly call up the company's CFO and their investor wellness investor department and ask questions. So that can give them a lot of insight which we cannot do.
So that's what. So now I got it. The technology, insight, and then gut feel.
Sir, predictive, descriptive,
Can we start the
descriptive
presentation?
analytics, AR analytics.
You are going in reverse way.
No, since he was on the subject, I said might as well finish it up now.
Descriptive analytics.
Yeah.
Descriptive, they are all useful to this subject. Analytics, this.
Yeah. So we are used in different mistakes. Out of these, since generative AI has got tools which makes it easy for a lay person to use, that is why this particular product is easily accessible and it helps you create new outputs. Whereas all the other AI, which is the predictive AI, etc.,
Descriptive,
requires,
predictive, descriptive.
yeah, so all that requires you to have technology skills to use that. So without having machine learning or other programming skills, you are not able to apply that. Whereas these tools like ChatGPT or Gemini from Google, and there is a Copilot from Microsoft. So they have an interface where you can use normal English and ask your questions. And the model is designed to take normal English questions and convert it and then respond to it. So that is why this becomes the most revolutionary AI product. So it has brought AI into the lives of common people like us.
More or less like advanced simulation.
To an extent, it is.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, please come.
So, as I was mentioning, because of generative AI, what has happened is that it has enabled people to speed up the tasks which they do tremendously. So, for example, if like you all were discussing, you all had to create content for your web pages or articles or presentations, etc. So, a lot of time is spent by us in composing the text and then arranging it and identifying what images to use and all that. So those are tasks which can be done at a much higher speed by a tool, a generative AI tool. So as far as the subject is concerned, we know what we want to speak and what are the examples we have to speak. But in order to research that or get some supporting inputs on that, and then create illustrations for that, and then create the slide deck. All that can be done through generative AI tools, and most of these tools have some amount of access which is free to users. If you want to use it more extensively, you have some monthly fee to pay, and that is also not too high, maybe 2,000 rupees a month or 1,500 rupees a month, you can get the paid version of it. So for example, this image itself, so I just put a query saying that I want to create an image for this leveraging generative AI for smart intelligence. So it creates this image where there is someone using a laptop, there is a robot, and there is all financial data. So this is created image, it's not a real image. So it was run through what we just mentioned. AI essentially refers to machines that can perform tasks which traditionally requires human intelligence. So the history of computers till recently has been, it is just performing tasks where you give exact instructions, and if any instruction is wrong, then the output of the computer is wrong. Like they say garbage in, garbage out. So it is traditionally computers have just automated things which we were doing and speeded it up and done large amount of tasks at a much faster pace. So AI is something where it learns from what you give to it. So for example, in BSc we have a startup zone, and one of the startups had a project from an insurance company. So in insurance, people submit their documents. So there are original documents and there are photocopies of documents. So they had to identify which is the original and which is the photocopy. So by looking at the resolution of the document, it is able to identify that. So first, when it started that project, it was getting 75% of the time it was getting it correct. And in a span of 2-3 months, it learned on its own. So it taught patterns that this particular pattern, if it is there, this that means it is original. That means. And in a span of 2-3 months, it came to 95% accuracy. So this is a thing which only AI software can do. That the quality of output which it generates starts improving as it corrects, because not only it works on the instructions which are there, but every data which it receives as input, that it analyzes and it improves itself. So over a span of time, the output which it generates goes on increasing better and better. For example, if you had used any of the AI tools to create human figures, the fingers used to not be very proper. Sometimes it would show person with 6 fingers, or the fingers are merged together. But now it gives very good quality with distinctly identified figures. So as it learns, it goes on improving and evolving itself.
Is it a self-learning?
Not that if you mean to say that every person has to train, use it a number of times,
No.
only then it improves, or generally it is improved?
It is, see, initially the software developers, they provide a lot of data and it trains it. After that, when the software, for example, ChatGPT is launched on internet and there are millions of users using it. So everybody who uses it is providing it with some fodder that it uses to learn and then evolve itself. So then it's an ongoing process. To go on learning.
The example
How
what
accurate or how useful is it for
Give
finance?
some example.
What is your experience?
Yeah.
Because I'll just tell you something. We had a residential refresher course institute
Okay.
last 2 days.
Which is,
CH.
okay.
So there were about 10 case studies on private trusts and on HUFs.
Yeah.
So we encourage them. We said all the 50 people, they use ChatGPT
Okay.
to try and look for answers. Those who didn't know, those who knew it, they gave the answers.
Okay.
What we found was the ChatGPT or the way they used it, we don't know. Mostly it came up with completely wrong answers. So that's why I'm asking how
See,
useful
there
it is
are
for
two things.
finance.
One is the source data you provide. See, if you ask ChatGPT to analyze something and it searches the internet for that source data, then what happens is that there could be a lot of reports which are there, data which is there. For example, if you are looking at an IPO of a company, pre-IPO there will be some 10-15 analysts saying that this is a good buy, this is a good buy. 2-3 people will say this is not a good buy. So it might seem, if ChatGPT picks up those reports, then it will read on that and then interpret that.
So it will not know which ones to select.
No. So you have to
So that you
define
have
your
to train
question.
it.
So this is called prompt engineering. How you ask the prompts and what is the data you provide to it is very important. So suppose you want it to analyze. So you have to provide it with the source data. Suppose a new company is getting listed. So you go to the company register site and then download all their last 10 years data and you ask it to analyze it, because the prospectus which the company is submitting to SEBI, that might have data, that will have data to present the company in the best possible way. So but you source data independently and provide it to them. Then you ask the last question, ask the right questions to it, that you relate various things, that profitability, sales pattern, whatever that. So, because if you manually sit and do all this work and you have to correlate so many sources.
So basically, what I understand is that if you are an expert in the field, then it will benefit.
Yeah.
A lay person using it will not
No, lay
magically
person-
become a
Yeah.
finance expert.
No. A lay person using it also needs to know that the authentic information, you are accessing the information and then you ask it the question. See, you might not understand the impact of the various ratios, whether P ratio is good and all that, but you know that the source of the information is, I will download it from BSc and NSC site only. And then you ask it the questions that these are the questions. Then the chance of it, but of course, if you look at the past, so many scams have happened which the auditors have not detected. So, like this NIC bank from 20 to 25, but for the software which has collected, who was in charge of that particular case, had come for that conference. So he said that you won't believe what all they did. So they created a bench of some 500 employees who never had any projects on. And they were assigned to fictitious projects. And they showed some fake income coming to that. And they showed some fake fixed deposits where the investment was put also. So they saw that the FD receipts of banks, they are printed on certain type of paper. And when the auditor, he touches the paper, they will figure out that this is not the same kind of paper. So they laminated all those fake receipts. So anyone who's holding that paper will not make out that this is a fake. So that level they went to, and they went on for 10 years. 10 years they and
Jude. There's one more question.
yes.
The first example which you gave, originally printed and Xerox.
Yes.
In the beginning, it was able to have a good saving of 75%. Now, who gave that instruction that these 25 are not right? Because
No.
it was given by
Correct.
the
So when the output report is generated, so initial phases they are doing a parallel run. So they take the output and then they see that in so many cases it is wrong.
Yeah, but who says it is wrong?
The people who are
So basically, at an early stage, there is some human
there is a
intervention
parallel
required.
run. Yeah, there is a parallel run.
And
So
then
you
only
give
it will
feedback.
start learning.
Yeah, then okay. So at least if you give feedback, it cannot learn. Like us. Because it has given a report. Unless you tell it that this report is wrong in so many cases, it won't know that it is wrong. So those kind of things happen. So obviously the AI is being used extensively in fraud detection, and banks are supposed to invest in those kind of tools also, so that it identifies patterns.
So for common people, no, I mean, when they say, before buying share, you should go to the red first.
Yeah, because it's a huge document. And the language of
IPO are more bogus, lot of.
yeah, there are a lot of ideas.
Bogus, and they have generated money and giving back to the bank. And the directors
Yeah,
are.
they are using it as an exit.
They have returned the debts to the bank. If they say now everything is over, I have no money. So this type of IPO should not be permitted. That's what the state statement told you. Now there is no solution for it. It should have been started from the day one. The MSME should not be permitted to start with such type of IPO.
But MSMEs wanted IPOs to
Yeah.
make money.
Yeah, but they
To
have
raise
paid money to the bank
Yeah,
debts.
so they need money. Yeah, they need money.
But for every 10 fraud, there will be one genuine company who wants to raise the money.
My suggestion and recommendation over here would be, let it continue, so
Yeah.
that we can keep the question answer session in the last 10 minutes.
By the time we forget, that's it. Okay, very short.
So this whole generative AI works on this concept of large language model. So as I mentioned, there is the training phase. So large amount of data is fed to the software, and it builds its intelligence based on analyzing the data and identifying patterns and all. And then the output is checked, and then you fine tune it. The developers would fine tune saying that these are the areas where it's not accurate, where it is accurate. After that, when it is open for the users, then the user inputs what is known as prompting. Prompting is the means of communicating with the generative AI. So there is a small box where you type in your question. So as the inputs are going, and each input which it takes, when the output comes, if the output doesn't match your requirement, you will obviously say, please regenerate, or this is not correct, or this much information you need to rewrite, or whatever. So that is a continuous learning for the software. So these are things which are used. The most popular is of course ChatGPT from OpenAI, which Microsoft has invested. Then Google has a tool called Gemini. Is also there. So there are new software businesses which are called LLM Ops, so large language model operations. So what they do is that they build customized kind of tool which is having specific data and inputs related to your particular industry. So suppose you are a bank and you want to customize ChatGPT, not ChatGPT actually, you want to build a platform on top of ChatGPT, but which is very customized to the banking customer requirements. So then these companies will build on top of ChatGPT, they will build with banking related, all the regulations of the bank, the processes of the bank, and then all past their customer service department, whatever queries they have got, what answers they have given, how the customer responded, that they will feed in, and they will create a bot which will face the customer and answer their queries. Now all of us over the last few years would have had harrowing situations where we call up the bank customer service and we are never able to answer the question. So I recently, around 1 year ago, we had opened some account with HDFC, some current account, and we had to close it. And it was a horrible experience. We couldn't close it only. So finally, we physically went to the customer care center, which is a back office, and nobody goes. Only the employees go. We had to, as customers, go there physically and meet the head of the department and then solve it. Now with AI, since AI ability to go through all information, analyze patterns, and then give responses, this will significantly increase. Because the department, most of the time, they are not even HDFC employees, they are some third-party employees. They are given a one-day training and they hardly know anything about the processes. They have no experience of dealing with customers also. So with AI, it is possible because all the 3,000 queries which have come on one particular subject, all those queries are there, and it can go through, it can find out what answers were given, what was right, what was not right, and then give this answer. So that is going to significantly improve AI. Then content generation is something which is really revolutionary because of AI. Now, once you have a concept and you describe it it will create the whole document for you. It can create stories, it can create case studies, anything you want. After that, you can create illustrations to add to the content. If you want, you can create short videos. Everything is possible using this. Thirdly, in the IT industry itself, coding, now you have software which will generate software as an output. That is one big concern area for us because India, although we are quite a big player in the IT industry, most of our work in the IT industry is what can be largely called as IT labor, because we have not created any new product or service or anything like that. We get outsourced projects, and because of the cost arbitration, we tend to have Infosys and all the TCS and all those companies, their primary strength is this, and like the Indian software developers monthly CPC is much lower than the American or European, so they get large amount of. So a lot of these standard codes which need to be done, now AI themselves will do it, so AI tools are there. So that could be the biggest challenge which our IT industry will face, because when you have a AI tool to generate the code, you don't need people to do that, unless you're coming up with something new and different. So that is one area which I think the companies themselves are trying to.
Sir, about the GST is applicable? Goods and service tax.
Yeah.
IGST, SGST,
Yeah.
GST.
Yeah.
People, builder do not pay. IGST do not receive. The government has cancelled the budget.
Yeah.
Nobody, builder will not get refund.
Yeah.
Close kar diye. Yeah, excited.
Huh. You want to say if it can identify the cases?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
80%.
Yeah. And of course, in finance and business, analyzing large amounts of data, interpreting it, and then you can keep on asking questions. So suppose you upload a report into ChatGPT or any such tool, and say that the key outputs or key points of this. Once it shows, you can ask further questions that can you relate A and B, and so what is the impact of this on that. So instead of having an expert, you can use this to dig deeper into the report.
It will still not answer the question if $1 million decision has to be taken by a company owner based on a given set of data.
Yeah.
And he is in a particular industry and he has a set of, let's say, customers, market size, value, volume, etc.,
Yeah.
distribution channels, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right? And then all that he, how near to right would that decision be based on that set of data and patterns that is extracted? That is a question mark.
Yeah, see, that again depends on what questions you ask, because
The quality of your question
Quality of
itself
question.
has to be so
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah.
so good,
Yeah.
that you're thinking ahead of the market,
Correct.
right? To deep dive into it.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're just asking a common sense question based on common parameters,
Yeah.
you'll get a common answer.
You'll get a common.
Right?
Yeah. Because many times what happens is that when you look at the data, you have to dig deep into some aspects which could relieve. So until and unless you ask, go on asking more and more questions
Yeah.
and dig deeper into things.
So to
which
follow
are-
your line of thought, what
Yeah.
it will do is that it will start searching for information
Yeah.
from within the universe for that extraordinary question that you asked,
Yeah.
to find out about other company models,
Yeah.
right? It will deep dive into it.
Yeah.
To extract that kind of information,
Correct.
which again would be, to a very large sense, it will give you a high level of probability.
Yeah.
But that need not mean that it would be the answer.
Correct.
Correct, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So suppose, I'll give an
Just
example.
making it clear.
Now suppose you upload all the company's data and you ask questions and you get some idea.
Yeah.
But just a few days ago, maybe a day ago, the government has announced a change in policy which is going to impact this company. That will not be reflected in the company data. So then you have to think ahead and say that any changes in government policies, the recent announcement, monetary policy of RBI, whatever, how will it impact this company? Or not only if it's a company which is exporting to US, etc. Now changes in tariffs announced by Trump government, how will it impact? Because this data which you are seeing is the past.
Yes.
So it's like rear view mirror.
Correct.
So what is going to happen, if you want to see, you have to be able to identify where to look. So once you say that, please correlate Trump's policies related to exports of chemical products from Indian or Asian countries, and then see how it will impact this particular company. Then you might get new insights which is not possible earlier. But you have to ask the question and access the information. Some of the data might not be detailed enough. So you might have to buy some reports which are done by some
Absolutely.
research.
In other words, what we are saying is that the technology that we have,
Yeah.
with what we have, with what we are discussing
Yeah.
today, it will take you to a point.
Yeah.
But in the earlier example of Berkshire Hathaway, if finally Mr. Warren Buffett or whoever is there at Berkshire Hathaway,
See, you might not have access to that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
As a person who is a big investor, he or she has access to CFOs of companies.
That was the nature of my question.
Correct. So this is the about
If that
information
data we
asymmetry.
gave to the current AI to do it.
No, see, information asymmetry. Somebody is having a more information, somebody is
Yeah.
having a less information,
Correct.
and then there is arbitrage between the two.
Correct.
So today now most of the trading things and all that, we see that. If you look at the really commodity trading, not about stock exchange, but generally if you are going to maybe let's say some commodity mandi and then there is something happening, somebody knows that there is a drought happening in Chile and that's why like maybe I should short something here. Okay. Now this is the knowledge that is typically today we have because like say there are several modes of gathering the information. But point is that today are we looking at the AI as a search engine? Okay. Are we looking at AI as a something which will like say be my servant to do some work which I don't hate doing it? Okay. Or something which I don't have skill and I want it to do that. For example, sir mentioned about the video generation. I'm very bad about like say maybe using video equipment maybe or I cannot use maybe Canva to do something. Okay. But I might use the AI tool because I can simply give it a prompt. Then it will create a thing for me. I may be very bad at designing a PPT, but I can use the co-pilot of Microsoft saying that give me a PPT and that will give me directly a PPT without really struggling for it. Right? So your earlier questions that you mentioned, okay. So I'm sorry to barge in, okay, but I'm running one AI company, okay, and we have been working for last few years in this space, okay, and that's why for that I should intervene here. Okay. The point is that we are talking about here is a, for example, search engine which are having AI capability, okay, because today if you look at the Google search results, okay, now they are becoming AI enabled. So you get a summary right now. Okay. The format has changed over last 1 year. Okay. OpenAI is saying now that I am a search engine. Okay. So it is giving a different thing. Okay. And now search is nothing but a publish information. Okay. It is a, whereas at the AI, when we talk about the thinking ability. Okay. So within the thinking thing, we are talking about the what is the reasoning capability of that underlying AI model. Okay. And associated term is that the chain of thought. So any argument has to be built over, let's say, step by step, right? Now, if the prompts that you give may instruct the engine that you bypass some steps. Okay. Now, forecasting is I will say the bad use case for the AI. Why? Simply, forecasts are supposed to be like say, forecast, that's why they are inaccurate, right? It's happening in the future. Okay. Today also in the share market you have a consensus like on the opinion pool. It is a very common method for the earning prediction, right? We normally take like 6 times for the game which we say, okay, of the pool of like say 20 analysts, 11 say that this earning of this particular topic is fine. Okay. And they say that the forecast was this or the analyst expected was this. They also talk about it for the maybe and the average of the that forecasted by the individual analyst, and then what is the actual, okay, and whatever is the deviation that we keep on talking about, right? So the underlying statistical capability, underlying reasoning. So when we were talking about, sir mentioned about earlier that okay, I can use the engine to write a essay, write a poem for me and all that. That is really generative. But when it comes to the analysis and making some connection between the two data points, okay. Now that is where the machine learning plays a huge role. When we talk about the underlying patterns, okay, figuring out of the so there is analytics. So if you put a 3-story kind of like a continuum, there is a basic analytics, okay, which has the roots in the statistics. Okay. From the analytics, you venture into something called the machine learning, wherein because the algorithm is supposed to like to learn from the inputs it gives, whatever trials it happens, and based upon the different data sets. Okay. So when you talk about the frauds in the bank or any other such things,
that's where the machine learning basically, because there have been a past incidents and there may be a current incidents and there are so many data sets and you train the model, so that's where the machine learning happens. Now from machine learning to the AI, is there is the difference is really blurred. Okay. We cannot really say where machine learning ends and where AI starts because it's a continuum, it's a progression. Okay. And good thing is what? For machine learning, you needed a lot of data sets. Even in earlier engines, the AI platforms needed a lot of data points, or they used to call it the tokens. Okay. Tokens are like say bits or bytes of the information for use for the training of these engines. From there, now we are saying that why should you go and find out all the knowledge or information in the world and use to that engine to train? Rather, whatever engines are already generating the input, okay, can I use that? So when we talk about DeepSeek was made like with a little less money or in a very short period. Why? Because it was trained using the output coming from the ChatGPT.
I think that is the place where you are coming to. I think that is the spot that you are coming to. What he has mentioned, I think you are
To use it. The AI fabricates the to use it. The AI fabricates the cases, non-existent cases. So same way, my worry is in finance, how do you protect yourself from data fabrication by AI? So I input details, I put balance sheets and things like that. I don't know what AI is going to use to generate a report form saying this is a good company, this is a bad company. Because if it doesn't find information, it just interpolates and puts imaginary information. I just give a small check, I'll tell you the reason. Google, when it was first used, you must have heard Dr. Google. My wife, she was a pediatric neurologist, passed away. So she had said, you check, do a small thing. Ask Google, should you use oil on the scalp of a newborn? Google says yes, test it first, use a mild oil, this, that, all kind of answers, right? Just now checked on ChatGPT, it still gives the same answer. The reality is, no, on a newborn's head, you cannot use oil. That's the consensus of all pediatricians. So
what happens is,
so I mean, what has changed? That's my technical.
open the available data, then it bases the answer on that. But when you provide it data, which is authentic data, and then you ask the question.
No, but if I have to provide the data also, then what benefit am I getting?
Yes, I'll tell you why. Now, if you want to analyze something, suppose there are various the company's financial data, balance sheet, income statement, past 5 years data and all that. Now to analyze that and interpret all that data, manually if you are going to do, there are so many possibilities you have to check and it will take long time. So now you give that data and as an expert you know what is the point want to, first it will give you some top level analysis, then you dig deep and say that this particular value, the operational profit has been going down so and so time. Is there any connection between the sales or is there any investment they're doing or anything of that sort? So all this will be done very quickly and given the...
So basically what you are suggesting is for fundamental analysis of a company, using AI would be a good idea if you give the information in the form of past reports, things like that.
So actually you can do the fundamental analysis. Then whatever charts you generate using TradingView or something, you can
You
upload
ask
the
them,
charts.
okay, give me a DuPont analysis, give me this analysis.
Yeah.
It will generate automatically for you.
And then you can pick up other, you can do the technical analysis, you can upload the charts and then...
You added that, so I think what Dr. Kanale is, your question gets answered, plus you've given the solution, because with that conversation which you mentioned is the additional piece of information.
Correct.
I think Dr. Kanale, even the past data that you have, there you get the models. Otherwise you have to be wise not to be dumb. I mean, that's what basically it means. Going beyond that.
I was just wanting to know if there is any precaution which you can take whereby you won't get answers which are based on hallucination.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is there any thing which you can include in your prompt which prevents it from generating?
What you can say that base your analysis on the data that I have provided.
Purely on
Yeah,
that.
correct. Not,
I would like to add here, my suggestion would be don't use ChatGPT for this use case. Okay. There is another fantastic platform called the Notebook LLM. From Google, something called the Notebook LM, which is from Google only.
Notebook LM.
Yeah. So
LM or LLM?
LLM.
LLM.
So what Notebook does is, it works only on the data provided. It doesn't go outside that. Okay. Now, for example, earlier somebody gave an example of reading draft of prospectus of a company, let's say. That's a 500-600 page document. And if reading it itself will, we don't have capacity, right? None of us can read it by the time it gets published and by the time we should do it. Okay. So, now what is such a document? Okay. I need to upload it into this LLM. LLM has a very, Notebook LLM has a very fantastic capability of creating an audio podcast. Okay. So it creates a kind of a podcast kind of a thing where there are two hosts who typically discuss that thing.
I'll show that.
And all that. Okay. And along with that, it also gives you two more outputs. Okay. Then you can get something called the notebooks, notes. Okay. So which is a summarization of that, and it also gives you a timeline. Okay. There is a lot of facts, etc. are put together in a particular way. Okay. So the key point is that OpenAI or the chat, OpenAI, these are not really, I think, it's not a one powerful tool for everything. There are more than 3,000 AI engines, and for what purpose, what tool to use, okay, that is the discretion, that is what I think as a human we need to figure that out. Okay. Otherwise, when we say that generally people talk about whether this AI thing will become powerful than people and all that, ultimately we are the Sarthis. We have to figure out what to use, vehicle to use, for what purpose.
Sir, I have just one last one. The data which is available in the public domain is getting analyzed. Now I am
no, not necessarily.
probably yes.
If you ask it a question and don't give it any data of your own, then it will take public domain.
Public domain data.
But there is an
right?
option
No,
to
sir,
upload
no,
data.
I hear you. That I am clear.
Yeah.
But let's say there is a data which is subscribed. Correct? Now a big company subscribes that data and feeds it into the AI. Now would that AI inherently take that data next time when it analyzes?
No, you
or
have
it
to
will-
specify that based on the attached files.
No. That is fine. I am a third party. He is another party. Both
Yeah.
of us. I am a big company. He is a small company. I use my private data, my paid data. I have given it to you as a AI to churn out information. You give me a response. Now when he starts using it, and he asks you the same question, would you give the data which you have analyzed to me to him?
No.
It will use their open data.
It only use open data.
Yeah.
Once the paid data will be not be reused.
No, I need to say, see, let's say Berkshire is using a data to analyze his
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah.
And today I go and ask the same thing about some company, correct? Now would that Berkshire data
No.
be included in my understanding? No. So it's
When you
it's-
ask a question, it will search the internet and whatever is available on internet.
but now it has got the data, right?
It's not on the internet.
Berkshire has given the data to him to analyze.
Correct.
Obviously,
But that is not available on internet.
that may or may not be available, but
If
now
it's
that I have
available
given
on
you,
internet,
it is available.
It is not on
You have given
internet.
on personal,
No, it's in the
it is
data
not
set, sir.
available on the internet.
It's in your data set, that's what he's asking.
It's come in your data set.
Actually, the data set is
No, it doesn't do that.
It doesn't.
It doesn't do that.
It will use public
See,
domain
training
data.
data is different.
Hmm.
Don't mix it up. Training data is a different thing, and data which you provide only for your answers is a different. That remains that the privacy of that data is protected.
Okay.
Moment the companies know that that is being
Yeah,
put into
then
the
the whole
training,
thing-
they'll stop using it.
We're talking about that information asymmetry.
Yeah.
That gets
No, that-
captured, then it becomes more open
Then-
domain for
then
everybody,
we don't
for
need
uniform
it for that.
platform. It doesn't happen that.
No. Just some information. Globally, across departments, there is adoption of AI. And ChatGPT marketing department is using more than IT department.
you just show the earlier slide? We just wanted to know where finance is. Okay, 67%. Legal is the lowest.
Yes. So this is based on user survey, what is the perceived ROI on AI? So over the years since AI has been used, I'll share this. For different age groups, how it's being used.
Baby boomers. Yeah.
It also gives how to match your skills with the AI tools for
Yeah.
recruiting.
So if you look at financial services and banking, so quite a lot of AI, so you have personalized investment advice. So you have chatbot which will ask you questions and suggest investment. So these are some companies globally who are using AI-driven solutions for investment planning, financial goal setting. So this is one simulated case which I generated using AI. So I asked an AI tool to create it for me and it did create. So I asked, Gemini is a AI chatbot from Google. So I just asked this question that Paytm and Zero the Indian fintech company use generative AI to offer personalized investment. So I asked it to give a breakup of how this happens. So then it gave step by step how this happens. Next question I asked was, based on this, can you simulate a conversation between an AI chatbot and Priya? So it created this conversation. It's a simulated conversation of a user and AI. Next I asked it that, can you break it into screens? That whole conversation screen by screen saying, this is the character description, and this is the chatbot, this is screen 1, what they say, screen 2, what they say. Next what I did is, I took this information and then I went into a software, which is a image generation software, and I gave the same description given by that Gemini saying that Priya is so and so, she's sitting at a desk. So it has generated images step by step. So it generated the image of that lady sitting and the chatbot. Next, I gave the next thing, how that she's thinking of how she will invest her money in a house, so she will create the next image.
and so on. So each stage, whatever conversation is there, it has created all these images. So then I use that in my presentation. So the entire case scenario, the conversations, the image description, and the images entirely created by AI. So this is on the scene. So now I've been able to create this all through AI. So it created the case, it created the characters, it created the scenarios and the images. So entire thing I've been able to do using AI.
The issue can be the originality of it can be lost if you have 100 users all using the same thing, right? A given set of questions.
No, the description which you give.
Yeah.
Like for the image, I gave a certain description. So the image which you create, somebody else creates, there will always be a difference.
But there is an underlying similarity.
Yeah,
You can make out, this is generated, still you can make out.
Yeah.
One question is, some features, of course, financial analysis, you might also analyze receivables, payables, etc. So will AI enable me to do better productivity?
Yes.
Can you support implement on that?
Yeah, so suppose you have your financial statements and currently you are manually doing all the matching. So once you upload your statements into the AI tool and you ask the questions that this is what you want, so within seconds it will be able to do it. Then you can ask, now you got first level understanding, then you have some doubts over here, then you just check that these particular receipts can you check, map it. And in 10-15 minutes you can take deeper and go and asking questions.
Time will take if you have to train a set of 10 to 15 people, okay, doing this particular function. How much time will you are an AI expert.
Yeah.
So how much time will it take to train them to implement this into their workplace or work job?
Yeah. See, the most time it will take me or anybody else is to understand your work process. That these are the steps this is the data which you look at. That you look at the cash register or whatever other documents are there. And then manually how you do the steps. That you map this thing, you take printouts and you do the mapping, you find identify. So all those steps which are there. Once that might take some time to understand your process. Then I will define those prompts, which are the questions to be asked to them. And that once it is done, then it becomes repetitive process. Training the people will be very easy because we analyze the process, we create the questions to be asked, and then we give the set of questions in a Word document to each person and tell them that you upload this document, ask this question, when this comes, then next question, what next.
So it will be more than a day's training for the
No, not more. To get the basic.
I have a doubt. Can ChatGPT handle AI chatbots be biased? So if you ask, like she has asked for investment journey,
Yeah.
so then maybe some particular bank might want to advertise their investing or like I'm giving an example. So can it be biased?
Yes.
Like
If it is indicating certain things, then there will be a, if it is indicating certain things, then there will be a bias. So for example, till some scam appears, many companies might have got A+ rating from CRISIL and everyone. So it will look at the CRISIL reports and it will say, no, it's a good value. So that is the problem with it. Suddenly a scam happens and then all the auditors and all the big global rating companies, they are all proved wrong.
so it's not like cannot like a new person like cannot just go and not see it completely
Yeah. But
without knowledge, not without
you have your own, but
verifying.
even with knowledge, even if you have knowledge, if you go through all the financial documents which have been cleverly dressed, and the rating from very reputed rating agencies like CRISIL and all, so everything is indicating what seems to be good. Then going beyond that, like there is one company who used to be in BSE and now institutional investors advisory services. So what they do is that in addition to all the financial data, they track all the quarterly meetings which happen. So in the quarterly meetings which happen, the conversation which happens, because in the quarterly meeting, all the conversation has to be recorded. So there is the chairman, the managing director, and other CXO people. The independent investors are there. They are all the independent directors are there, and the nominee directors from LIC or any other large investors. They are all present in that meeting, and the conversation which happens, that is also analyzed. So there you can get clues which could be disturbing. Like for example, before the Satyam scam happened, there were conversations on why has so much money been invested in that Mitas reality company. And if you had tracked that conversation, you would know that something is dangerously scary, and we need to be cautious about that. So the range of data sources which you analyze, so it is not just fundamental and technical analysis. You analyze the quarterly conference calls. So every quarter there is a conference call which every decent company should be doing, and that is audio recorded, and the PDF transcript of that is also available. You can analyze that. So all the analysts from leading broking firms and all will be present on Zoom, and they'll be asking questions. So how they answer that question? What is the commitment they are saying? Whether the plans they said 1 year ago they said they are going to do this. Has anything happened on that now, or is it not happening? Or is it creating some castles in the air? So many things you need to go through. It's like being Sherlock Holmes. They deep into all possible areas.
So, is it the selection of tool itself as a problem? So there will be a bias in the tool itself.
Selection of
tools, AI tools that we use. So probably there is a biasness in the tool inbuilt with the algorithms they have created.
Yeah, actually, if you look at the tools which you select, some of the tools are more recent, long history. For example, ChatGPT might have some 5-6 years of history. So the older the tool, the more it would have learned. And sometimes, of course, there are specialized tools also, which have focused only on research. Like Perplexity is there, which has a research specialization. ChatGPT itself has announced a specialized version of it for research, but that is currently not available. It is available to only some premium customers. So as time goes, you get more and more specialized tools. So let's see, suppose you want to look at some data, say, so around 41 banks. So around 41 banks.
instead of various financial methods.
So then it comes with one thing, that these are the top 5 banks for long-term investment. Then it tells you which are the parameters it is looked at